Hey guys, today I will be working on number 1865, which is finding pairs with a certain sum. So let's read the description. You are given two integer arrays, nums1 and nums2. You are tasked to implement a data structure that supports queries of two types. First, add a positive integer to an element of a given index in the array nums2. Then count the number of pairs ij such that nums1I plus nums2j equals a given value. So here they tell you, they give us first the structure of find some pairs, which is this. And then they tell us first initialize the find some pairs object with two integer arrays, nums1 and nums2. So as you can see here in the constructor, all we have to do is just self.nums1 equal to nums1 and then self.nums2 equal to nums2. And here when we initialize the instant variables nums1, nums2, that would belong to this object. So here self also represents the object that would be created here, for example. And now in the second part, we need to create the add method. So here we do simply what they're saying is that adds val to nums2 index. So if we check the example here, if we have in this example, we're having this as nums2. Let's write it here as a comment. Nums2 is equal to this. Then we're having, let's say, add 2 at index 3. So add 3, 2. So we need to add 2 at index 3. So 0, 1, 2, 3 here. So this would become, then we would have something like this. 1, 4, 5, 4, 5, 4, exactly as they tell us. So here we don't need to replace the index, we just need to add to what we already have. So we simply do actually as they said. We just do here self.nums2 index, and then we just do plus equal to val. Now for the third method, they're asking to count to return the number of pairs that we would have here. So we need to return the number of pairs that are giving us, that would be giving, for example, here, for example, here we have 7, so we return 8 pairs. Now, why do we return 8 pairs? Let's just check one example. So we have here nums1 equal to this, and we need to find the pairs in these two areas that would give us the number 7. So if we check here, we have 5, we have, let's say, nums1, we are having 2 and 5. So this is index 2 and index 2, exactly as they tell us. Now we have here index 3, index 2, index 4, index 2. So 3, 2, then 4, 2. Now here, what else do we have? We have index 3 and index 4. So there's 2, 5, and here there's 3 2s. And we just keep going. Now what we can do here, like the base case or the brute force case, we can just do the result equal to 0, then we just loop for element in self.nums1, and then here for element in self.nums2, and we just check if element plus element equal to dot, then result plus equal to 1, then return result. Now if we run this, let's see, it would work. We would get an accepted solution. Now if we submit, let's see if this works. And as you can see, it's taking time here to get the result. which means it's not gonna work because we are having a very big input here, and we're doing here like a double loop, which would be O to the n time complexity, O(n) squared, sorry, time complexity, and this doesn't work in this kind of input, and the time limit would be exceeded. So in this case, we need to think of another solution. How are we gonna find these pairs without this brute force loop? If we check again here in the first example, if we check here, we can see that, for example, the character here 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, all of these are the same number. And we check in nums2 again. We are having 5 and 5, two of the same number. So what we can do here, instead of looping twice, we need to just loop on nums1 since nums1 doesn't change. What's changing? It's nums2. Whenever we add here, we're only changing in nums2. What we need to do is only think about a solution that will let us only loop on this one, since it's not growing and it's not adding anything in there. So we need to think of some kind of solution that will let us find pairs, and then we can add to the result. So again, if we check, this is nums1, and in nums2, we're having 5 appearing 1, 2, 3 times. 5 again appearing 1, 2, 3 times. So here we can just, if we think about this a bit, we can use a map to count how many times 5 would be appearing. But in this case, of course, it's not 5. We're going to be counting all of these characters. And then using the frequency, we can just add to the result the number of times this specific number is getting counted. So to make it, to simplify this, we will write this in the code. What I'm thinking here is we do self dot frequency underscore map, right? Like this. Then here we're looping for num in nums2. Here we simply create the frequency map in nums2. So self frequency underscore map nums equal to self dot frequency underscore map dot get num 0 plus 1. So here, as I said, let's say we're having this. Now we have this map. Now we're having here the 1. How many times it's appearing? 1 time. 4. 4, it's appearing 2 times. Then 5, it appears 2 times. Then 2, it appears 1 time. So now here we counted how many each number in nums2 is going to be appearing. Now we need to think here. If we're in the count and we're looping in nums1, and I already have nums2 with me, but as a map, then how can I check if I have the number that's given here in the variable tot? So what I can do here while looping in nums1, instead of adding, I can just do in this case if self dot frequency underscore map dot get, let's say tot, which is 7, minus the element. So in this case, So in this case, I'm doing 7 in the first case scenario. I'm doing 7 minus the character minus the number 1. So this would give me 6. Is 6 available here? No, it's not. Then I do, let's say number 2. I do 7 minus 2, it's equal to 5. Is 5 available? Yes, and we add 2 to the result. So what we would do here is result, instead of adding +1, we just do self.frequency underscore map dot get, and then again same thing, dot minus element. So here we would add the value of 5, which would be 2, to result. And then simply we keep continuing. So let's say here in the nums1, we're having, as you see, like we're having 1, 2, and 3 that are 2. And this one would add 2. Then again, we add again 2, so that's 4. Then again, that's another 2, so that's 6. And then it keeps going. We're having another 5 here. And then here we're also gonna be adding another 2. So that's 7 and 8. So as you can see, whenever we come here and we do 7 minus 2, we're getting 5. We just add the number of times 5 it's appearing to the result, and then this will give us the final answer for the count. Now, in this case, we would only have the problem with the add, because here also we're changing the index. And when we change the index, of course, this will affect the map. So we need to update the map to have the updated values. So what we can do here is when we add, let's say here, I'm having 145254, then it becomes, then the 2 is totally removed. You can see we have no 2. But initially 2 had frequency 1. What we can do is remove the frequency from 2, since it's not there anymore. So here if we do frequency underscore map, and then we just do self.nums2 index minus equal to 1. So here this one would be 2, 0, because we don't have any 2 anymore. And then what we need to do is we just need to again here we just need to add the new value that we got here. So self frequency map self dot again nums2 index equal to self dot frequency map get self dot nums2 index, and we just add it as normal, as you can see here. And then we added, of course, we add a frequency +1. So as you can see here, let's just do like one example in this. We're having nums2 here, we're having nums1 here. We add 3, 2, it becomes like this. But let's first say we're doing count 7, which is this, to repeat how we got this answer. Count 7. We only loop on nums1 because it doesn't change, and that's of course easier. And then we are just doing, we're getting the tot minus element. So again, as we said, 7 minus 1 is 6. So nothing is added. Nothing is added to result. Again, we continue. 7 minus What is the next one? Let's put this down here to understand more. 7 minus 1 is again 6. Again, nothing is added. Why? Because 6 is not here. 6 isn't here. Here initially we're having this kind of map. And 6 isn't here. So again, we go again. We keep looping until we loop the whole area, of course. So 7 minus 2, it's 5. Is 5 here? Yes. So result equal to 2 so far. Again, as we can see, 7 minus 2, because here we have another 2. So result equal to 4. And again here another 2. 7 minus 2, result is 6. So now we're here. Now we come here. 7 minus, we did all the 2. Now we have 7 minus 3 is 4. Do we have 4 here? Yeah. So result equal to 8. And that's how we, at the end, we just return 8 on this one. That's how you get this result. So instead of looping twice and then it fails, again, what we did here is create this frequency map. Always when you want to count the number of times a character or a number appears in this kind of question, you need to use this kind of frequency map. And then logically, if I'm doing here 7 minus 2, I'm going to be getting the value that is in the second array in nums2. This is logic. I don't have to add. Yeah, they tell you need to add 2 pairs. But this is logic math. If I have nums1i and then equal to tot minus nums2j, easily. So here in this case I'm doing tot minus nums1i equal to nums2j. So this is basic math linear algebra. And as you can see here, we just do the minus to get the number that would be in nums2. And since we already created a map, we know how many times this number is going to appear, and we just add the number of times it appears. So instead of doing a double loop and going through each one, we already have how many times it appears, and we just add it. And now we can just submit. And as you can see, it's working, and it's an accepted solution. And also to come back to this method to explain it more, here since we're adding, so we have 1 4 5 4 2 5 4, then we added, now 2 is removed. So 2 we do as we saw here, we do -1 for the frequency, so now 2 is having 0. And then after we add here, so here we're having 4, here 2 is having 0. And then here what we did is 4. We already saw that we have 4 twice. So then here it's 4 3 times. And this is how you would update the map. And of course, updating the value. And of course, here also updating the map, removing the frequency of the character that we don't have anymore. In this case, it's 0, but if it was initially 2, it would just be 1. And that's it, guys. Hopefully you understood it. Hopefully you understood this flow here, because this is the main flow. And it's, again, it's very simple, like last summary. We're having nums1 here. We create a map, and we need to return the number of pairs. What we do is get the number of pairs that count to 7. We do here 7 minus the first number here, we get 6. It's not in the map. 7 minus 1, 6. Again, it's not in the map. 5 is in the map. We start adding to the result. 4 is in the map. We add to result. and we return 8. And that's it, guys. I hope you understood this question. It's a bit tricky, and that's why maybe it's a medium LeetCode, but with practice, immediately you will be able to know what to use and when to use. And honestly, as everyone knows, usually we just have to use a map, and then we're good and we have a good solution. And that's it, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this question and the explanation. And let me know in the comments what do you think about these kind of videos and if they need improvement or not. Thank you, guys, and see you in the next video.